We just finished a chapter with Bjorn and Tolly, learning that some Viking warriors were planning a raid on Ireland, England, and the surrounding islands. Why did Vikings raid other places? Well, there was probably competition for resources. There was a lure of somebody else's wealth, pressure from nearby expanding kingdom. Remember, that's why Tolly and Bjorn are having to leave in the first place. There's infighting by another kingdom, changes in the Scandinavian population, changes in leaders, there's warfare, and a desire to win fame and fortune. Remember, Vikings would travel in their longships to raid and plunder, and they often surprised the people that they attacked. But the Norse people did more than just raiding. The Norse people did a lot of trading as well. And one way we know that they traded is that when there is a new town that has been established, and now it's 1,000 years later, but archaeologists have found artifacts that are from all over Europe, Middle Eastern locations. So when that lets us know that the Vikings carried on trade with the people that they conquered and with people that they were just in contact with. So what does it mean to export something, and what does it mean to import something? That's a really important concept that we are learning right this very minute. To export something means to send out goods that you already own to be traded and sold in another country. And to import something means to bring in goods from another country to your own country or people. So I'm going to have some riddles, and these riddles, the answer to these riddles will all be exports that the Norse people, the Viking Age people, could export from their country. They had a lot of these in Scandinavia, and other people in other areas in Europe and the Middle East wanted these things, and so they could export them to other people. I was captured during a Viking raid. I am no longer free and have to do whatever work others tell me to do. Who am I? You're right, a slave. A slave was a Norse or Viking Age export. I live in the ocean, and the Norse tried to capture me to eat. For long trips, the Vikings would dry me with salt so that I would preserve. What am I? Fish. Because there was such a large coastland and the people in Scandinavia lived near the coast, they could catch a lot of fish. I once covered the body of an animal, like a fox, a bear, a beaver, or otter. The Norse people wore me to keep warm. What am I? Fur. Other people in other parts of the world needed fur as well. It was a good export for the Norse people. I once stood tall as a tree in the woods, but the Viking people cut me down for their ships, roads, and homes. Luckily for them, there is not a shortage of me in Scandinavia. And what am I? Timber. Timber is boards made from wood. I am white, hard, and smooth to the touch, and the Norse people used me to carve on. I come from the tusk of animals, like a walrus. What am I? Ivory. The Viking people used to make chess pieces out of ivory. I am a type of cloth that was made through spinning and weaving something that is sheared from sheep. The Norse people used me for their clothes, blankets, and sails. What material am I? Wool. So all of those things are exports. They are things that the Norse people had and they could trade. Wool, ivory, timber, fur, fish, and slaves. The next riddles will have a list of items that the Norse people did not have. They were scarce, or there was non-existent in their own country, and they had to import them. Import, Im is a prefix meaning in, and ex is a prefix meaning out. So you carry something in or you carry something out. Export, out. Import, in. I am a precious metal that is used in coins. The Norse people melted me to craft things like jewelry. What am I? Well, I'm not gold, but I am, you're right, silver. It was a very desirable import. I grow in fields and can be used to feed livestock and make things like bread. What am I? Any kind of grain or wheat. It's hard to grow grains in Scandinavia. There was not much soil and it was cold. They needed to import grain. I am fragrant and can be used to make bland food tasty. Cinnamon, cloves, and pepper are just a few examples of me. What am I? Spices. Spices were valued all over the world and were usually grown in the Far East. They needed to be imported. I am created by a silkworm caterpillar and can be used to make clothing. What am I? Silk. Sorry. Sorry about that. Yes, the fabric silk is still a sign of wealth and status. Today I am found in things like windows, but during the time of the Vikings, I would be used to make things like beads and drinking cups. What am I? Glass. And glass needed to be imported. So silver, grain and wheat, spices, silk, and glass are all items that the Norse people wanted but could not get on their own, and they needed to trade and import those items. So just an important lesson on importing and exporting.